Can you believe it's been nearly a decade since the shocking death of 5-year-old Michael Komape, who drowned after falling into a pit toilet at his school in Limpopo? That was 2014. Now we bring you to 2021. A court ordered that the Limpopo Education Department provides a list of schools with pit toilets and also other inadequate facilities, as well as provide plans to eradicate them and upgrade sanitation in all schools in the province. But unfortunately, as has been reported in the past few weeks, there has been another death as a result of pit toilets in our country. So is enough being done? Well, the clock is counting down. Section 27 and the Centre for Child Law have joined forces to create an online tool to try and track accountability in this regard. Fascinating research. Faranaaz Veriava, who is the Section 27 Rights Program Head of Education, has made time for us this evening. And a very good evening to you, Faranaaz. And it's wonderful to see that we're able to keep the departments of education accountable. But I'm curious, how is this tool, good evening, actually going to do this?
Good evening, Gareth. Yes, we are very proud of this accountability tool. It's called the Michael Komape Sanitation Progress Monitor, in memory of Michael. His family were very keen to put his name to it, and we are very grateful to them for doing this. So, as you know, and as you said in your intro, there have been various court cases that we have had in relation to Michael. First, the cases for the damages for the family. There was also a plan that government had to develop to roll out proper sanitation in the Limpopo province. We then took them back to court because we found the plan inadequate. They have now given us a second plan. And in terms of that second plan, they have categorized 3 levels of toilets that need repairs or need to be eradicated completely. So priority 1 toilets would be toilets that have to be eradicated by the 31st of March 2023, and are schools that are only reliant on pit toilets. Then there are priority 2 and priority 3 schools. So what we have done is that we get reports from them every 6 months on progress. We then analyze these reports, and we have decided to make this tool available publicly. So not only do we look at it, but the media can look at it, schools can look at it, and anybody else interested in this very important issue of school sanitation can also look at it and see to what extent the department is taking its plan, its self-imposed plan, to improve sanitation in schools seriously.
Well, there's 2 things. One is an observation. Tell me if you agree with me. And 2, I want to ask you about what the first deadline is looking like, because there's not too long to go to the first deadline. But I can't help but imagine how devastating it is for parents and for organizations such as yourself to have to drag a Department of Education to court, not once, not twice, not 3 times, multiple times, in order just to provide basic human rights like a toilet to pupils. It should never have gotten to this point. You should never have had to go through this, A. And then B, what does that deadline look like? The 31st of March, just a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, so yes, it is very demoralizing when you have to take government to court repeatedly, where you have a good court order, and then you have to return to court for compliance with the court order. That is one of the reasons why we have set up this accountability tool. But because of our doggedness in this case, we can't say that we are happy with progress, but there has been progress. So as you know, toilets should, in terms of the school infrastructure regulations, pit toilets should have already been eradicated by 2016. That deadline was not met. We are now in a process where we have priority 1 schools, all pit toilets in the Limpopo province, not in the Eastern Cape, where Langalam Vicky has just passed away, but in the Limpopo province. Those toilets priority 1 toilets have to be gone by the end of March. So basically, we want to make sure that it's gone. But as I said, there has been some progress. So at the start of the plan or of the court order, there were 363 pit toilets in the province, or priority 1 pit toilets in the province. As we sit here this evening, that number has gone down to 210. And of that 210, there will be many of those schools would be in different phases of completion of the eradication of pit toilets. Obviously, where we are not seeing progress, we will hold government to account. And if we find that their progress or progress is far from reasonable, we will have to look at what we do again as next steps, such as going to court, for example. One of the things that we focused on in the first year, in the first year of reporting, was to look at how many schools, priority 1 schools, had received mobile toilets, so that learners wouldn't die by using toilets again in the Limpopo province. And this was a constant battle and a constant to and fro between us and the Limpopo Department of Education. And on 2 occasions, we challenged them with urgent applications. We had drafted papers and we were ready to go to court. And on 2 occasions, we saw that some progress was made. And as we stand, most of the schools that are priority 1 schools have mobile toilets as we speak. So while we think that things are happening at a snail's pace, and while we're having to literally stand with a stick and monitor, if that's what it takes, we are happy to do that.
Faranaaz, I'm so curious because while it is 463, the previous number, that's the number you started at for priority 1 schools, now down to... Oh, I'm sorry, 363, now down to 210. It's moving in the right direction, but not fast enough. So apart from standing there with a stick over the Department of Education in Limpopo, I'm dying to know, what are the excuses given? What are the reasons given? Surely Section 27 has asked an obvious question. What is the problem? Help me in South Africa understand, why is this so difficult to get done? We're talking about a toilet.
Yes, so I think a lot of it is political will in meeting the deadlines in terms of the norms and standards for school infrastructure. We know that, as I said, pit toilets should have been eradicated by 2016. They weren't. We also know that the department is currently looking to amend the regulations, and we think that this will be a backtrack from what we've seen on some of the promises made in terms of the regulations. So that's a definite evidence of political will. Outside of political will, there are also the issues of government planning and budgeting and the rolling out of plans. And we have seen this very much so with toilets, but also with the other things that we've monitored closely, like school nutrition plans and all of that. So we know, for example, around mobile toilets, there wasn't enough money budgeted for a promise that they had made, where they had initially said that they would provide all priority 1 schools with mobile toilets. They didn't give them sufficient funds. And we had to threaten to go to court twice before the funds could have been found. So it's for me, it's a combination of things. You need to ensure that their project planning and their rollout of their project plans is clear and efficient. And on the other hand, that will happen once you have some clear political will. And I'm hoping that with the latest death that has happened in the Eastern Cape, that what we are trying to do following the death of Michael Komape, where we've got clear jurisprudence saying that this is unconstitutional, that they are going to now and try and replicate the plan in the Eastern Cape, or the plan that we have in Limpopo in the Eastern Cape, and indeed throughout the country, so that we can make sure that this never happens again. Although we have said this when Michael died, we said it when Lumka Maketwa died in 2018, and here we're sitting again in 2023. It's ridiculous. 210 remaining schools no longer or are still incomplete. And if those reasons are unreasonable, we'll have to look at what accountability will look like. So, for example, in the Eastern Cape, the Legal Resources Centre has ran many cases, and where schools weren't paid properly on time for the salaries of teachers. There were different things done to force that, such as, for example, even ensuring that the department's property was attached, for example. So we will look at accountability. We will look at what accountability looks like once we know the reasons for why they haven't met the 31st of March deadline.
Well, I appreciate your time in speaking to us. It's once again back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. I mean, you mentioned the name of the little one, Langalam Vicky, down in the Eastern Cape. Tragic, but here we are. As you say, it was meant to be 2016, completely missed the mark, and now on 2023 is not looking much better, but sounds like a wonderful monitoring tool. And Faranaaz, thank you very much for bringing it to our attention. So if you want to get some more information on that, as I say goodbye to Faranaaz Veriava, Section 27's Rights Program Head of Education, the program you're looking for, this monitor, it's fascinating, it's incredible work that's been done. The Michael Komape Sanitation Progress Monitor, of course named after the late Michael Komape. Perhaps you can go look for that and Section 27 and go look for yourself. But that 31 March deadline clearly going to be missed. We'll follow up on that, I'm sure, with the department.